Hi there and welcome to Bardscraft. In this video I will show you the simple steps for making this beautiful base. Off to the woods we go. Here in the boreal forests of Finland I found the bark I will use. Then I found lots of it. Large pieces. Great, now I have plenty of bark pieces for the base, as well as for another piece of terrain I'm really excited for. About that, subscribe to not miss that video. Thanks. Back to the crafting table we go. The bark is dry and moderately sterilized in the oven. I broke off a piece and thought about how this will work. Okay, the Titan will stand on a flat piece, but as you can see, this is not high enough. The Great Spear hits the ground. That's not good. Just to make things a bit easier, I decided to build the base on a sheet of XPS foam. I cut out a semi-round piece and made some quick stone textures. At this point, I'm not sure if any of the foam will be visible, but I'll do the textures just in case. Using the knife, I made the usual stone textures. Then made several cuts like this in order to create interesting stone textures, sort of like layered stone. To finish it off, I cut away a few of the layers as shown here. Back to the bark. I start by shaping it a bit first. It needs to be a bit shorter. Good. And I cut it here to make a flat surface for later, when I add on more bark. Before gluing on the back, I flatten the bottom like this. This will make the PVA glue bond stronger and there will be less little stupid holes. There, now the next step is to add on more pieces of bark. Let's see how it goes. As you can see, I cut the pieces at an angle so that they look like jagged formations of stone that stick out from the earth. I added generous amounts of extra glue, put on smaller pieces and even sprinkled on the tiny stuff that breaks off while cutting. To make this extra durable, I added concerning amounts of PVA glue at the bases of the jagged bark rocks, then sprinkled on small bits of bark. This will have to dry for a while, so come back tomorrow. The glue has now dried and the bark seems to stay in place. Great. I mixed black paint, PVA glue and a bit of water as my base coat. This coat should provide the bark with some protection. By using sideways strokes with the brush, I carefully got paint into all of the tricky parts of the bark. I made sure there were no naked areas on the bark. Alright, the base coat has now dried. I'll start by painting the stone surfaces with a dark earthy color. This one is mixed from grey, brown and green. This is quite green. Next, some brown on most of the parts. Here I had a moderate amount of paint on the brush, while trying to get paint on the highlights of the textures. While at it, I decided to paint some small areas almost fully brown. Then, in a similar manner, I used red to paint certain parts of the stone. Perhaps this will look like different layers, who knows. Anyway, it starts looking quite interesting. I continued by painting individual areas with a tan. I think this will contribute well to the layered and random stone look. There we go. I think this is ready to be dry brushed. I dry brushed everything with a light grey to begin with. After a while, it looked something like this. It is now time for a white dry brush. I made sure that the paint is dry enough. My white paint is the worst. It's like too wet. Okay, that seems good enough. Time to add on flocking. First, I applied PVA glue on the desired surfaces. On places I thought it would make sense for grass to grow. Just PVA glue straight from the bottle, and then I used a wet brush to spread it out. I'm using cheap and easily obtainable flocking. Dill, so everybody should be able to do this. Hey Flockface, sprinkle on the flocking dill. Here I noticed a few other surfaces that looked like they needed a good flocking, so I added glue and a bit of dill. The flocking needs to be sealed with a diluted PVA mixture. To make it a bit easier, I made this mixture in a little pump bottle. Unfortunately, it ain't a spray bottle, but this should certainly make the application of glue a bit easier. Okay, this makes it about 1% easier. No, it's horrible. I'll just use the brush. I should buy real flocking and a spray bottle, but I'm just too stubborn. Oats, kitchen knives and herbs are pretty much the trademark of this channel, so they will stay. Everything is fine now, and the glue has dried. I'll dry brush a bit with yellow while I think of how to make bushes. A bit of yellow. Not on all places, of course. After that, I decided to dry brush with orange as well. Yeah, that should work. Alright, the bushes. I figured I could use the same materials as I did for my oversimplified stupid trees. The sponge of this household item works well if it is ripped to small, irregular pieces. I made sure to remove any unnatural edges, then applied paint to the pieces. I got this color by mixing green, yellow and brown. Make sure to really get it in there. Bushes of different color suit well for the base. Here is a mixture of brown and red. Good. There we have all of the bushes. Now that the bushes are dried and ready, I'll glue them on with dabs of PVA glue. As you saw there, I formed clusters of the little foam bits. One more bush here, then I'll move to the feet of the Titan miniature. First, I cut away the temporary cardboard base. Here I was wondering, I do not want to glue this on permanently, because that's an awesome piece of terrain. I can use this in many places. After painting the ugly parts of the feet, I had figured out how to attach the feet to the base. I poked a thin nail into the foot. The nail head required a bit of force to be pushed in, but luckily I was smart enough to pre-poke the hole using the sharp end. The nail should sink easily into the bark. Yeah, both feet seem to stand steadily on the base. This marks the completion of the epic journey of making a colossal raid boss miniature from scraps and sticks, and then basing it on bark found in the forest. As we can see here, the little hole doesn't bother anyone when the base is used as terrain. the base and the Titan are prime examples of what I like to do on this channel, so do subscribe and I'll see you next week. Until then, check out more terrain and miniatures. Also, if you really appreciate the content, you can support the making of these videos on Patreon and get some exclusive content. Go check it out, and good luck!